As we start probability, we should go over a few definitions before we start calculating. An experiment is an attempt to produce a random phenomenon where we know that what outcomes could happen, but we don't know which particular values will happen. So let's apply this to our example at the bottom of the page here. So imagine we have a sample of 10 jelly beans. We have a blue one, 2 purple, 3 green, and 4 red. From this set of 10, we're going to draw 1 jelly bean. So our experiment here is this act of drawing 1 jelly bean from the sample. So the idea is that with this experiment, we have these 10 jelly beans. We know what possible outcomes could occur, but when we put our hand in the bag and randomly draw one, we don't know which one's going to occur. So our experiment is drawing that 1 jelly bean from the sample that we have. Then an event is a collection of outcomes. Usually we identify these so that we can attach probabilities to them. So we have a few different events that could happen here. For example, an event could be draw a blue jelly bean. That's one possible event for this experiment. We could also talk about drawing a red jelly bean. That's another possible event. We could then also talk about drawing a purple or red jelly bean. We can start adding or in there. We can also talk about drawing but if we're drawing 1 jelly bean, we have all these possible events that could occur, and then once we understand these events, we can start calculating probabilities. Sample space is the word that we use for the collection of all possible outcomes. So for us, our sample space with the jelly beans would be that we could see blue, purple, green, or red. Those are our possible outcomes when drawing a jelly bean, so that would be our total sample space. And whenever we talk about the probability of our sample space, so if I said, what's the probability of drawing a blue, purple, green, or red jelly bean? It's 100%. Those are the only options. So our sample space covers everything, and that leaves the probability as 1 or 100%. With probabilities, we describe them in decimals, but then often translate them into percentages. So where it says a probability of 1, that translates to the idea of 100%. So finding probabilities, we use this notation, and it's like function notation from algebra, but we have this capital P, and then in the parentheses we describe some event. So that could be read as probability of an event. And how we calculate it is in the numerator. We put the number of outcomes that fit that event divided by the total number of outcomes. Probabilities should always be between 0 and 1, ranging from 0% to 100%. We can't have negative probabilities, and we're not going to have probabilities over 100%. So if you get values out like that, that's a clue that something went wrong in the calculation. So with our example here, we could start calculating probabilities. Like if I looked for P parentheses blue, which would be like probability of drawing a blue jelly bean, there's a 1 out of 10 chance, which would translate to 0.1. So 10% chance of drawing a blue jelly bean. Or I could look for P parentheses red, which would be there's 4 red jelly beans out of 10, which would be 0.4. So there is a 40% chance of drawing a red jelly bean. So those are some basic definitions as we move forward calculating probabilities.